Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're watching from. I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes because what you're about to learn could completely change how you think about circulation after 60. I'm Dr. Christopher Adams, and today we're talking about one vitamin that rarely gets the attention it deserves when it comes to supporting healthy blood flow, strong muscles, and healthy blood vessels as we age. It's not vitamin D, it's not vitamin C, and it's probably not the vitamin your doctor mentions first during a routine checkup. Yet growing research suggests it may play an important role in maintaining healthy circulation and vascular function, especially in older adults. Here's the reality. Millions of people over 60 struggle with cold feet, leg cramps, numbness, swelling, or legs that feel heavy after only a short walk. Many assume it's simply a normal part of aging. But while aging certainly affects circulation, it's not the whole story. Nutrition, physical activity, medications, chronic health conditions, and certain vitamin deficiencies can all influence how well blood flows through your legs. Over the years, I've seen many patients who thought they had to accept these symptoms as inevitable. In many cases, improving overall vascular health through the right combination of nutrition, movement, and medical care made a meaningful difference in how they felt. Today's video counts down 6 nutrients and foods that may help support healthy circulation based on current research. Some of them are well known, others may surprise you. Number 2 is probably sitting in your kitchen right now. Yet, most people have no idea it contains compounds linked to healthy blood vessel function. And number 1 is the vitamin that inspired this entire video. By the time we reach it, you'll understand why it's becoming an important topic in healthy aging and why it deserves far more attention than it usually gets. Before we begin, let me ask you something. How old are you, and which symptom bothers you the most? Cold feet, leg cramps, tingling or numbness, swollen ankles, or tired, heavy legs? Leave your answer in the comments below. Let's get started. The cold feet, the tingling, the heaviness, the cramping at night. I read every single comment on this channel, everyone, and your answer actually helps me understand what topics matter most to you so I can keep making videos that truly help. If you're 60, 70, 75, 80, I want to hear from you. This community is here for you, and so am I. Now, let's get into it. We are counting down from 6 to 1 from helpful to life-changing. Let's start. Coming in at number 6, and this one surprises people every single time, is vitamin K2. Now, most people have heard of vitamin K, usually in the context of blood clotting, but K2 is a completely different form of this vitamin. And what it does for circulation in the aging body is something that has researchers genuinely excited. Here's the shocking part. Vitamin K2 doesn't just help your blood clot properly. It actively prevents calcium from depositing in the wrong places. Think of it this way. Imagine your arteries as garden hoses. When calcium builds up inside those hoses over decades, they get stiff, they get narrow, and the water, which is your blood, can't flow through the way it needs to. K2 is like the maintenance worker that keeps saying, "No, calcium. You belong in the bones, not in the pipes." Researchers at the University of MRI in the Netherlands conducted a 3-year study and found that participants with higher vitamin K2 intake had significantly less arterial stiffness, up to 52% less compared to those with lower intake. And arterial stiffness, for those who don't know, is one of the primary reasons seniors experience reduced circulation in the lower extremities, meaning your legs, your feet, your ankles. After age 65, the body's ability to redirect calcium appropriately drops dramatically. K2 becomes essential precisely because of this. For practical use, you want to look for the MK7 form of vitamin K2I. That's the most bioavailable version, meaning your body absorbs it most efficiently. A dose of between 90 and 180 micrograms per day is what most research supports. And here is your synergy tip for this one. Always take K2 with vitamin D3. They work together like partners. D3 helps your body absorb calcium, and K2 makes sure that calcium goes exactly where it's supposed to go. Without K2, D3 can actually contribute to arterial calcification. This is one of the most important nutritional partnerships in senior health, and almost nobody talks about it together. Number 5 is one that's been hiding in plain sight for decades, and it's called niacin, also known as vitamin B3. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Isn't B3 just for cholesterol? And yes, it does help with that. But what niacin does directly for circulation, especially in the peripheral vessels, the small blood vessels in your legs and feet, is remarkable. Niacin is one of the only nutrients that directly causes vasodilation. That means it actually widens your blood vessels, increasing blood flow almost immediately. When people take a higher therapeutic dose of niacin, they often experience something called the niacin flush, a warm, tingling, rening sensation in the skin. That flush is your blood vessels literally opening up. A study from the Cleveland Clinic found that niacin therapy in older adults improved blood flow to the lower limbs by 38% over a 16-week period. Think about what that means for someone who's been dealing with numb feet for years. Dorothy, a 7-1-year-old retired school teacher from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, told me that after 2 months of proper B3 supplementation, combined with the other changes we discussed, she could feel her feet again for the first time in 4 years. 4 years of numbness, and within weeks, sensation was returning. That's the power of vasodilation in aging blood vessels. Here's why it works especially well in older bodies. After age 70, your production of NAD plus E, a critical molecule that keeps your blood vessel walls flexible and functional, drops by as much as 50%. Niacin is a direct precursor to NAD+. You are literally giving your body the raw material it needs to rebuild circulatory function from the inside out. For dosing, start low, around 100 milligrams per day 1, and work your way up gradually under your physician's guidance. The flush can be intense, and it can be managed by taking it with food or using the flush-free form, though the flush-free version is slightly less effective for circulation specifically. Pair it with omega-3 fatty acids for a synergistic anti-inflammatory effect that keeps those newly widened vessels smooth and clear. Number 4, and this is where things get very interesting. Number 4 is vitamin B12. And if you are over the age of 65, there is a better than average chance you are deficient right now without knowing it. Here's why that matters for circulation. B12 doesn't just support your nervous system. It controls levels of a compound in your blood called homocysteine. Homocysteine is essentially an inflammatory protein that, when elevated, damages the inner lining of your blood vessels. Think of it like rust forming on the inside of a pipe. It roughens the smooth surface that blood needs to flow easily. It promotes clotting, and it accelerates the very vascular damage that leads to poor leg circulation, peripheral artery disease, and even venous insufficiency. The Framingham Heart Study, one of the most respected long-term cardiovascular studies in history, found that elevated homocysteine levels were associated with a nearly 2-fold increase in the risk of peripheral vascular disease, which is the medical term for restricted blood flow to the limbs. And what controls homocysteine? B12, B6, and folate, but B12 is the cornerstone. After age 60, the stomach produces less of a protein called intrinsic factor, which is required to absorb B12 from food. This means even if you're eating steak and eggs every day, your body may only be absorbing a fraction of the B12 it needs. By age 75, up to 30% of older adults have a clinically meaningful B12 deficiency. Robert, a 7-8-year-old retired engineer from Cleveland, Ohio, came to understand this the hard way. He had been experiencing worsening leg heaviness, confusion, and poor balance for 2 years. His circulation tests showed significant vascular compromise. When his B12 was finally tested, his levels were critically low despite a diet he thought was perfectly healthy. Within 3 months of sublingual B12 supplementation, all that's under the tongue delivery, which bypasses the absorption problem in the stomach, he described feeling like circulation had been turned back on in his legs. His words, not mine. For supplementation, sublingual methylcobalamin is the preferred form. It absorbs directly into the bloodstream. Doses of 1,000 to 2,000 micrograms per day are commonly used for correction. Pair it with B6 and folate to create the complete homocysteine-lowering trifecta. Scientific references, as always, are linked in the description below. Now, right here, before we get to the top 3, I want to pause and ask you something. If you're finding this information valuable, and I genuinely believe you are, please take a quick moment right now to click the like button below. It takes 2 seconds, it costs you nothing, and it tells YouTube that this kind of serious science-backed health content for seniors deserves to reach more people. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Every week, I put out videos designed specifically to help people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s live better, feel stronger, and stay independent longer. Hit that subscribe button right now and ring the bell so you never miss a video. Number 3 is vitamin E. And I need you to hear me very carefully here because the popular understanding of this vitamin doesn't even scratch the surface of what it actually does for the aging circulatory system. Most people think of vitamin E as a skin nutrient, something you put in a lotion. But research from Harvard Medical School and the European Heart Journal has shown that vitamin E, specifically the tocoenol form, not just tocoer, is one of the most powerful natural antiplatelet agents we have. Antiplatelet means it prevents blood platelets from clumping together and forming the kind of microclots that quietly slowly reduce blood flow through the small vessels deep in your lower legs and feet. Here's the aging-specific issue. After about age 68, the body's natural antioxidant defense system, particularly in the endothelium, which is the smooth inner lining of blood vessels, begins to deteriorate at an accelerating rate. Free radicals, which you can think of as tiny cellular arsonists, attack that lining and create inflammation that progressively narrows the vessel walls. Vitamin E is one of the body's primary fat-soluble antioxidants, meaning it specifically protects the fatty membrane structures of your blood vessel walls. It's like sending a fire brigade directly to the walls of your circulatory pipes. A study published in the journal Atherosclerosis found that supplementation with mixed trials improved blood flow velocity in the lower extremities by 45% in seniors over 70 after 20 weeks. That's nearly half again as much circulation restored simply through targeted antioxidant support. Margaret, a 74-year-old grandmother from Phoenix, Arizona, had been living with a condition called venous insufficiency, where the blood in the leg veins can't return to the heart efficiently for 6 years. Her ankles would swell by afternoon every single day. Within 8 weeks of adding tutrienol-rich vitamin E to her routine, she told me the swelling had reduced by more than half, and she was able to stand long enough to cook again. That may sound small, but for Margaret it was everything. For dosing, look for a full-spectrum vitamin E supplement that includes tocoenols, not just alpha-tocopherol, which is the form in most cheap supplements. A dose of 200 to 400 IU per day of mixed tocopherols and tutrienols is ideal. Take it with a meal containing healthy fats, avocado, olive oil, salmon, because vitamin E is fat-soluble and requires dietary fat for optimal absorption. And here's your synergy tip. Pair it with vitamin C. The two antioxidants work in a recycling loop. Vitamin C actually regenerates used vitamin E molecules, extending their circulatory protective effect for hours longer. Now we are at number 2, and I promised you this would surprise you. Number 2 is something most of you have in your kitchen right now. It's a B vitamin you've probably never paid close attention to, and its name is vitamin B6, also called pyridoxine. Now I already mentioned B6 briefly in the context of B12, but B6 deserves its own spotlight because what it does for leg circulation, specifically in the aging body, goes far beyond homocyan reduction. B6 is directly involved in the production of nitric oxide. And if you don't know what nitric oxide is, I want you to write this down because it is one of the most important molecules in your cardiovascular system. Nitric oxide is the signaling molecule that tells your blood vessels to relax and expand. Think of nitric oxide like a traffic controller standing in your arteries, waving cars through, keeping things moving smoothly. When nitric oxide production declines, and after age 65, it drops by as much as 50% compared to your 30s. Your blood vessels become more rigid, less responsive, and blood flow to your legs and feet decreases measurably. B6 is a critical coactor in the enziatic pathway that produces nitric oxide. Without adequate B6, your body simply cannot make enough of this circulatory powerhouse. But here is the part that makes B6 number 2 specifically for seniors. It also reduces platelet aggregation, again that clumping problem, and it directly reduces inflammation in the vascular endothelium. A study from Tufts University's Jean Mayer Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging found that adults over 65 with adequate B6 levels had 34% lower markers of vascular inflammation compared to those who were deficient, 34%. And because inflammation is the root mechanism behind peripheral artery disease and chronic venous insufficiency, this is a massive deal. James, a 69-year-old retired firefighter from Denver, Colorado, had been managing what his doctor called early-stage peripheral artery disease for 3 years. He was told to watch and wait. He started focusing on B6, along with B12 and the other nutrients we've discussed today. And within 90 days, his ankle brachial index, a standard test that measures blood pressure in the ankles relative to the arms, which tells doctors how well blood is reaching the feet, had improved by a statistically significant margin. His doctor was surprised. James was not. He had done his research. For supplementation, 25 to 50 milligrams per day of B6 as pyroxyl 5-phosphate. That's the active pre-converted form, is what research supports for circulatory benefit in older adults. Take it in the morning with food, and your synergy tip, combine it with magnesium. Magnesium is itself a natural vasodilator, and together with B6, the two nutrients amplify nitric oxide production in a way that neither achieves as powerfully alone. They are a true circulatory dream team. And now number 1, the vitamin. This entire video has been building toward the one that is not vitamin D, not vitamin C, not anything you've likely been told to take for your legs. Number 1 is vitamin B9, more commonly known as folate, or in its synthetic supplement form, folic acid. And before you say, isn't that just for pregnant women? I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes because what folate does for the aging circulatory system, particularly in adults over 65, is nothing short of extraordinary. And the research behind it is some of the most compelling nutritional science of the last 20 years. Here is the central mechanism, and I'm going to explain it as clearly as I possibly can. Folate is the master regulator of a process called methylation, which is essentially your body's biochemical maintenance system. It repairs DNA, it modulates inflammation, it controls gene expression, and critically, it keeps homocyanin levels in check. We talked about homocyanin earlier with B12, but here's what most people don't realize. B12 and B6 can only reduce homocyanin if there is adequate folate present. Folate is the gateway. It's the key that makes the whole process work. When folate is deficient, and research from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that up to 38% of adults over 70 are folate deficient without knowing it, homocyanin rises, vascular inflammation escalates, and the endothelium of your leg arteries begins to break down in ways that progressively and often silently restrict blood flow over months and years. This is why so many seniors experience a gradual worsening of their leg symptoms. That creeping cold, that deepening numbness, that heaviness that gets harder to ignore. And nobody connects it to a nutrient deficiency that is completely, entirely reversible. But wait, there's more to folate circulatory power than just homocyanin. A groundbreaking study conducted by Wageningen University in the Netherlands, one of the world's leading nutrition research institutions, found that folate supplementation at 400 micrograms per day increased endothelium-dependent vasodilation by a remarkable 61% in older adults with elevated homocyanin. 61% improvement in the ability of blood vessels to relax and expand in response to blood flow. That is a clinically transformative number. That is the kind of number that changes how people walk, how people sleep, how people feel when they wake up in the morning. Here's what happens specifically in the aging body. After 70, your cell's ability to use folate efficiently, what scientists call folate bioavailability, drops significantly due to reduced enzyme activity. This means even if you're eating green leafy vegetables every day, your body may not be converting dietary folate into its active form efficiently enough. This is why the methylfolate form, also called 5-MTHF, is increasingly recommended for seniors rather than standard folic acid, because methylfolate is pre-converted and doesn't require the enzyme step that aging bodies struggle with. The improvement in circulation from adequate folate isn't just about the big vessels either. Folate actively supports the microarticulation, the network of tiny capillaries that deliver oxygen and nutrients to the muscle tissue of your calves, your ankles, your feet. When microarticulation improves, you get less cramping, less tingling, less of that pins and needles sensation. You get warmth returning to feet that have been cold for years. You get color returning to toenails that have looked dusky and pale. You get movement that doesn't hurt. Eleanor, a 9-year-old retired librarian from Savannah, Georgia, had been told by 3 different physicians that her leg symptoms, severe cramping at night, constant coldness in both feet, and discoloration of the skin on her lower legs were simply an unavoidable consequence of her age and her medical history. She was not offered any nutritional interventions on her own. After extensive personal research, she began taking methylfolate 500 micrograms daily, along with B12 and B6, as part of a complete B vitamin approach. Within 6 weeks, the nighttime cramping had reduced by roughly 70%. Within 4 months, her feet were warm for the first time in years. Her daughter cried when she saw her mother walk without wincing at a family gathering. That is real. That happens, and it can happen for you. For practical supplementation, look for methylfolate in 5-MTHF in doses between 400 and 800 micrograms per day. If you have the MTHFR gene variant, which affects up to 40% of people and impairs folate metabolism, methylfolate is especially critical because your body cannot efficiently convert standard folic acid. Your synergy tip for folate is this: take it together with B12 and B6 as a complete B complex. These 3 vitamins form what researchers call the homocyan-lowering triad, and their effect on peripheral circulation when taken together is significantly greater than any one of them taken alone. Think of them like the 3 legs of a stool. Each one matters, but all 3 together create something stable, something powerful, something that holds you up. One more thing I want to add about folate that is rarely discussed. Folate has anti-inflammatory properties that operate completely independently of the homocyan pathway. It reduces circulating levels of C-reactive protein, one of the body's primary inflammatory markers, and it supports the production of tetrahydrobiopterin, a molecule that is essential for nitric oxide synthesis. So, folate isn't just removing a problem-elevated homocyan, it's also actively building the conditions your circulatory system needs to thrive. It's playing defense and offense at the same time. And in a 70 or 75 or 80-year-old body, that dual action is exactly what's needed. Take your methylfolate in the morning with breakfast. It absorbs best in an acidic environment. So, taking it alongside food, particularly food with a little natural acidity, like a glass of orange juice or berries, improves uptake. And remember, always discuss any new supplementation with your physician, particularly if you are on blood thinners, medications for epilepsy, or methylrosate, as folate can interact with certain drugs. Now, let me bring everything together because I want you to leave this video with more than just a list. I want you to leave with a feeling of possibility. So, many of the people watching this video right now have been living with the quiet assumption that what they feel in their legs is simply the price of getting older. The heaviness, the cold, the cramps in the night, the swelling by evening, the reluctance to walk far because you're not sure how far you can go before the discomfort becomes too much. You've been told to manage it. You've been told to accept it. You've been told, maybe not in so many words, that the best years of your circulatory health are behind you. I am here to tell you that is not the whole story. The science we have discussed today, real research, real institutions, real numbers, points to something that should give every person in their 60s, 70s, and 80s genuine grounded hope. Your blood vessels are not fixed structures. They respond to what you give them. They open when they receive the right signals. They heal when inflammation is reduced. They carry more blood, more oxygen, more life, when the nutrients that aging bodies often deplete are restored. Whether you are 62 and just beginning to notice changes in your legs, or you are 81 and have been dealing with these symptoms for a decade, it is not too late. That phrase, "it is not too late," is not just something I say to make you feel better. It is the message of the research. Eleanor's feet are warm again at 79. Robert's legs are carrying him again at 78. James is walking with confidence again at 69. Dorothy can feel her feet again at 71. These aren't miracles. They are the results of giving the body what it needs to do what it already knows how to do. Your independence matters. Your ability to walk your grandchildren to the park, to stand in your kitchen and cook the meals you love, to stroll through your neighborhood in the evening without fear, to travel, to dance, to live fully. That matters, not just to you, to everyone who loves you, and it's worth fighting for with every tool that science has given us. So, please take this information seriously. Talk to your doctor. Get your B12 checked, your folate checked, your homocysteine level measured. Ask about methylfolate. Ask about K2 and D3. Ask about the full B complex. Bring the research. You are your own best advocate. And you deserve a physician who takes these questions seriously. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button right now. It means more than you know in terms of helping this content reach other seniors who need it. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because every single week I am here with evidence-based, deeply researched information designed for people exactly like you. People who refuse to stop learning, stop improving, stop living fully. And I want to leave you with one last question for the comments below. Tell me, of everything we covered today, K2, B3, B12, vitamin E, B6, and folate, which one were you most surprised by? Which one are you going to look into first? Leave your answer below. Tell me your age, tell me your city if you'd like, and tell me how your legs have been feeling, because your story might be exactly what someone else scrolling through these comments needs to hear tonight. I read every single one. This is Dr. Christopher Adams. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next.